to the E-ManGames channel. My name is Jan Oliver. Here you can see the list I used at Nationals, but there's already a new Forbidden and Limited list, so the stake won't take you anywhere anymore, so we need to find replacements for Masterpiece. I think the first obvious choice is just cut the 3 Masterpiece and then adding back the cards we got back from the list, so we'll quickly replace them. So for now we got Dynamite, 3 Ignis, 2 Maiden and 2 Amano Iwado for our monsters. I think this is the best ratio because Amano Iwado is very strong going second, but your best floodgate is Rivalry of Warlords and he's not kinda synergizing with it, so you don't want to have him always, and with all the draw power you will gain access to him very fast. And only 2 Maiden, because I think Maiden is by far the weakest, because Maiden needs another card to work. For Dynamite, when you resolve him, you get Return, and Return will get Dynamite back, so you're plussing off that. With Ignis, when Ignis is resolving, you get Disciples back, and Disciples shuffles resources back and draws a card. When you resolve Maiden, you get either Maiden, Ignis, or Dynamite, but you need another card to summon them. So Maiden is the worst, and it's no longer possible to do the cool setup with Rivalry of Warlords, Anti-Spell, a True Draco Trap, Maiden on board, Search Masterpiece and Auto-Win. So Maiden is, I think, not very... still playable, but not the useful one. If the format gets a bit slower, you can also try to play the Metal Throne. He's basically a worse Masterpiece, but also very hard to out for decks like Altagast or Paleozoics. So if the format gets a lot slower, we can try to play him, but I would start without him. For the spells, we have basically the 6 True Draco spells. You don't need to argue about them, you never set them out, they're just the reason why the deck is good. And then we play 5 field spells. I don't think there's a correct ratio of field spells, you just need to adapt to the format. For example, when cards like Trident or Ghost Ogre were popular, you could play as many diagrams as you want, because it just outsteps stuff. But for now, I think diagram is resolving every time, so because they fear demise, so they won't ash it, and Ghost Ogre is not so popular, because most people are going with the Infinity Trap right now over Ghost Ogre, and the trap is basically useless versus your deck. So I thought 5 diagrams is the best way to go. With 2 Desires and Triple Duality, I think you have to run 3 of 1. So, and at Friday I thought really long, do I want to play 3 Desires or 3 Duality? But in True Draco, almost every card gets you another card, or locks your opponent out of the game. And when you really need to get a card to play, Duality is the better choice, because of course you gain more cards with Desire, but with Duality you can choose the card you get. So you can make the more efficient play. And you don't need to discuss about demise, as long as card is at 3, it's a safe 3 off. Although when you're siding hand traps, you can side 1 to 2 copies out, because you don't want to clock too much, and when you're siding it out, you're basically playing around Ash, because your opponent will never Ash any other card except Heritage if it draws 3 cards, because he don't want to lose to demise. I had it multiple times at the tournament that my opponent let me resolve crucial diagrams or even desires, because I still had unknown cards, and he thought if I had demise, he will lose. So when you side cards like Ash, Cherries, you're playing a higher monster card, so you don't need 3 anymore, but still for the main deck there's no reason to cut it. For traps, 1 return and triple Apocalypse. It's just sad that return is still at 1 without Masterpiece. It was a nice walling tactic, destroying Masterpiece with Diagram, Search, Return, Pass, because a lot of decks had even trouble getting around that. Then 3 Rivalry, currently best Flatgate. Maybe Anti-Spell will become more relevant with Brandish, but Rivalry is also a flat-gated break sport. It's going second together with Infinite Impermanence. And you can basically run every flatgate, because normally the flatgate deck loses going second, but you just use your flatgates to normal summon going second. So there's no reason to not main deck flatgates, because if you lose the dice roll, you're still gonna use your flatgates, and your True Draco monsters will gain you advantage to break basically any board in the game. And the Infinity Trap is very good in this deck, because it's the only hand trap that synergizes with Card of Demise. If you cannot afford it, because it's quite expensive right now, you can go with Forbidden Chalice until you can afford it, but I think it's mandatory to play in this deck. For the side deck we have the 7 hand traps. I think Cherries is the strongest hand trap for game 2 and 3, because you can make their deck a very slow deck, and slow decks lose to True Draco. Ash is the best generic hand trap, but I don't side it in any matchup. But versus Trickster you have a hard time in the games where you need to search your key cards, because for example when you're now going to search Dynamite, there will Recognition, because they know when they banish Dynamite there will be no more Dynamites. So you need something for that, and Ash solves that best. And I added the Ghost Ogre as another hand trap for the FTK decks, because I want as many hand traps as possible versus FTKs. Maybe you can take him out now for another Forbidden Chalice, because Chalice is also mandatory to side, because everyone will side Red Reboot versus your deck, and you need spell cards to stop him from play. Waking the Dragon is kinda awkward, because good players will play around it and bad players will play into it, but you will find yourself siding a card to beat bad players, and if you think your opponent is not very good, you should win anyways. And I mean, the Time Lord is kind of the same. He's only good when your opponent plays not very efficient, because in the mirror match you have never more than 2 spell and trap cards on the board. Most of the time you have less, so he will never do something great, and you can stop him with the True Draco trap, because when you halve his attack with Apocalypse and destroyed the monster he attacked, he theoretically never attacked, so you cannot shuffle back. And Evenly is also great versus every back row deck, and in the mirror match you side Evenly going first or second, because you just, if they let you start and you have Evenly, you just pass, because they can't kill you and you'll gain too much resources if he starts to play. The extra deck is not really the strength of the deck, or kinda is, because you can run any cherry target possible. For Nationals I have Ancient Fairy Dragon and Darklaw, because I thought heroes could be possibly played in casual play, and Darklaw can hurt this deck going second, so, and I had space, so why not? But for now I would play for those 2 the Brandish links. They're not out yet, so I cannot show you the cards, but the Brandish links will be played, so having them ready for cherries is also good. And for the rest, you cannot really build the best extra deck now, because you'll just take in consideration what will be played, and then you will find the best targets for Cherry Blossom. You can maybe add in some level 8 synchros if you think you will ever going to summon something with Maiden or Ignis plus Charizard Ash, but that never came up for me, so just went with Cherry targets and the one Ultimate Falcon for Waking the Dragon. I thought other targets were not necessary, because the only matchup where the card really sees play is Mirror, and in the Mirror, Ultimate Falcon is the best choice, so there was no reason to side or extra deck any other targets for that. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below or ask us on social medias. We will try to respond as quickly as possible, and we'll see you at the next events.